Chapter 85. The Proxy War. Lin Chia stopped, looked into Wang's eyes and slowly opened his mouth. Instead of besieging a member of the team, choosing to fight you, the captain, was the stupidest decision I made in this fight. But it's good to be capricious once in a while. The key to winning this battle is to unmask a certain mask rather than eliminate them all, so the wisest way at this time should be to siege a weak point, rather than a brainless person to single out. This Lin 7 Knights in the heart is very clear. However, rather than win this battle, Lin Chia wants to know more about the divine agent. 10 years ago, the seraph inexplicably looked at him, leaving no word, so that he became an agent, but his own god market is not complete. All these questions weighed on Lin's heart for 7 nights and no one could answer them. The king's face was the first divine agent to appear before him, and he did not want to miss the opportunity. I know you have a lot of questions. Wang Mian put his hand on the handle of the knife, calmly opened his mouth, and when the battle is over, whether you win or lose, you can come to talk to me. Thank you. Lin Chia's sincere thanks, also put his hand on the handle of the knife. Between us, you sure you want to use that, cheater? Lin Chia's eyes fell on the black sword on the king's face and waist. Wang frowned. I use my own weapons, how can it be considered cheating? Brazen of you. Thanks for the compliment. Victor. Lin moved first in 7 Knights. Straight knife out of the sheath. Lin Chia's body shape is very fast, like a phantom shuttle in the ruins of it. More than half a day has passed since the start of the battle, and the night has come, under the addition of the star dancer. The speed of the Lin 7 Knights is amazing. The king saw Lin Chia so fast, light sound after a moment, the yuan in the waist slowly out of the sheath. Swish. The invisible deity market opens in the eyes of Lin Chia. The king's knife drawing speed has been fast to blur. If not, he has psychic perception. I am afraid even the king's hand cannot see. Then an exaggerated knife gang quickly cut the air. Toward the forest 7 Knights flash. At the moment of Wang's knife drawing, Lin Chia's terrible dynamic vision has predicted the trajectory of the knife swinging, and made an early evasive posture. So although the speed of the knife gang is surprisingly fast, Lin Chia can still turn the wrong body in time and avoid it dangerously. Knife gang skimmed forest 7 Knights of hair. Cut off a strand of black hair. In advance of the textbook level after evading, Forest 7 Knights will go straight towards the king face. Wang seemed to have never expected Lin Chia's skill to be so agile, paused for a moment, and then continued to swing the 2nd knife, the 3rd knife, the 4th knife. Dense knife gang in front of Wang's body interwoven into a knife net. Lin Chia's eyes slightly narrowed, the dynamic vision of their own to the extreme. In his eyes, the movement of the king's face slowed down bit by bit, and he seemed to be able to see the gap between the knives. It was only moments before his eyes began to ache. Lin Chia blinked his eyes twice, and the next moment the dense knife gang net had come to him. Lin 7 Knights without the slightest hesitation, the body suddenly fell back like a slip, will soon fall heavily on the ground. At the same time, Lin Chia hand straight knife backhand stabbed into the ground, barely steady back knife shape. From the bottom of the knife gang net to avoid, sharp knife gang rubbed his nose across. Lin Chia can even feel the knife gang came from the cold. After avoiding the knife gang net, Lin Chia's hand holding the straight knife suddenly forced him to prop up the whole person from the ground, and then quickly approached the king's face. After the knife gang rubbed the forest for 7 Knights, he obviously felt a loose body, and the speed of the king's face slowed down. The time market is gone. Lin Chia's eyes flashed as he had expected. With the current realm of the king's face, it was impossible to support the market of time for a long time. From the beginning, the king is in the preservation of strength. In counter battles are also the other 4 players, until Shin Qingzhu and others ambush had to shoot once. And that time the time market only lasted about 3 seconds. If Lin Chia's guess is correct, the duration of the king's face should not exceed 5 seconds, and each use will inevitably consume a lot of mental power, so the king's face will not be shot when it is not necessary. The time market is too strong and the current realm of the king's face is insufficient, and it has been very good to last so long. It is also a deity market, but Lin's earth and god domain seems incomplete, and he does not feel tired even if he is open 24 hours a day in dynamic vision, which shows that incomplete also has incomplete benefits. Otherwise he's gonna be like King Face, who can only be a real man for 5 seconds at a time. Taking advantage of the gap of the market of time, Lin's 7 Knights directly rushed to the front of the king's face. The straight knife of the hand suddenly swung out. Dang. The Yuan grid of the king's hand blocked the straight knife of Lin's 7 knights, and a slight shock force passed from the knife body to Lin's 7 knights' hand, but it was limited to this. There is no speed bonus, which is a normal blade with a handle that can numb the fingers of the enemy. And the ability to accelerate? How did you do it so fast? The two knives collided, the king asked in doubt. He thought that with their own knives has been enough to Lin's 7 knights directly hit out. Did not expect Lin's 7 knights unexpectedly in the time god market to keep up with his speed. After all, it's 003. It's normal to be strong. Lin's 7 knights' vague words. Right. The king's face is not suspicious of him, and the next moment the time market opens again. Time fairs do not last long each time, but as long as there is some time between them, continuous development is not a big problem. Now the cooldown on the king's face time market has expired. In the eyes of the forest 7 knights, the speed of the king's face accelerated again, and the action appeared the residual shadow. The king's face swung open the straight sword of the 7 knights of the forest, and the Yuan of the hand just lifted it up. And then with a flutter, "This time you can't hide." Wang looked at Lin's 7 knights near at hand, calmly said, "Dang." Lin's 7 knights' hand straight knife easily blocked the Yuan. The king looked stunned. "What about Dao Gang? What about my big knife?" He looked down at the Yuan in his hand. On the Yuan's blade, "I do not know when to paste a piece of tape." The forbidden book? The king's face changed slightly. Wang's eyes, Lin Chia's mouth slowly turned up. "Now your cheater is useless. Let's have a good fight." The next moment, Lin Chia's hand straight knife blade turned, the initiative to cut the king face. Chapter 86 Solidarity. In the time god market, the king's speed is surprisingly fast, easily avoiding the straight knife of Lin Chia. "I see this is from the fat little 100-mile family." Only a moment's work. Wang Mian wanted to understand this relationship, helpless sigh. However, his eyes were not the slightest regret but more excited. "Fine, then I'll talk to you. Give it a good fight." He completely gave up swinging out of the gang of war, carrying a close and Lin's 7 knights to fight, black blade and light blue blade in the air one after another collision, wiping out dazzling sparks. In the time market, focusing on the attack of the king's speed has been completely out of the human level. If a person standing in the position of Lin Chia, perhaps even his hands cannot see, let alone see the path of the knife. Even Lin's 7 knights but also must concentrate on the use of dynamic vision, coupled with the terror of reflex nerve, in order to barely stop the king's offensive. Now Lin's 7 knights very glad to come before Chinmai and others to open his classes, if not by Chinmai wooden knife, if not after the training of dodge bullets, I am afraid he now even 5 seconds cannot hold down. In a dazzling knife light, Lin's 7 knights only feel a light body. The flow of time around returned to normal. In contrast, the speed of Lin Chia King also slowed down. "It's my turn." Lin's 7 knights smiled, raised the hand of the straight knife, crazy cut to lose the time of the king face. Time in the market, Lin's 7 knights but cut the king face. And after the time market dissipated with the starry night dancer, bonus Lin's 7 knights can hang up the king face. The situation changed in an instant, and Lin's offensive was like a storm, and the king's face retreated one after another. If it wasn't for the king's skill, I'm afraid it wouldn't last long. A few seconds later, the king's face opened the time god market, and in turn cut the forest for 7 knights. The two of them went back and forth, took turns to gain the upper hand and cut each other for more than 3 minutes. "Aren't they tired?" Bailey Pang Pang sat on the stone, wiped the sweat on his forehead and said with emotion. The moon ghost sitting next to him sighed. "I don't know if they are tired. Anyway, I have been beaten for a day. I am really tired." 100 Fat patted his shoulder. "Comfort. No matter, brother, we rest here is also very good. Let them fight to death. Nothing can go to my house." Moon ghost. Boom. An air bombardment on the ground in front of the two people set off a wave of gas, blowing the 100 Fat delirium. "Hey, there's a fight over there. Can we go somewhere far away? Don't hurt the innocent." "Hey." Bailey Pang Pang shouted at Shin Qingzhu and Whirlpool, who hit red eyes in the distance. Then he turned and asked with concern, "How was it?" "Moon ghost, are you okay?" Ahem, nothing. The vortex in the distance saw these two living creatures resting comfortably next to them, grinning, showing an envious expression. "I said, why don't we also stop and go to rest?" Shin Qingzhu thought to think, also not. "We going? Let's keep at it." On the other side, the balance floating in the sky looked at the mad devil Chaoyuan on the ground and sighed. "I mean, is that how you spell it? Aren't you tired after all that yelling? Let's get some rest too. Ho ho ho. Ho ho whooping whooping. Chow Yuan, whose voice was hoarse, coughed a few times. The black flame burning on his body gradually faded, and his red eyes gradually recovered their sanity. Ahem ahem go 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 Amit ba I'm so tired. Chow Yuan voice all roared dumb, can only whisper voice shouted 2 sentences, gave the scales a look staggered to the side. After a while Rose and Molly hand in hand, talking and laughing from the other side to come over. Why don't you guys fight anymore? I was going to have a good look. Whirlpool see this rather regretful opening. Only allowed to be lazy? Rose white him a glance hold Molly's arm tightly. Rarely met such a SA royal sister I cannot give up. Rose when you're like this it's easy for people to think we're all perverts. Scales helplessly covered his forehead. What's wrong with pursuing true love? Rose snorted this time back I will change the code. Change the code name? Not a Rose anymore? From now on I'll be called Lilies. Everyone looked at the eyes of the 2 people in an instant strange up. 100 fat hand shake. The arms of the big sword was directly scared to the ground. Molly silently pulled out her hand from Rose's arm, walked to Bailey Pang Pang's side and suddenly opened her mouth. Excuse me. Make room for me. Oh okay. So the man brushed and squeezed on a stone, and looked at the 2 people who were beaten to death in the distance. Come on Captain. Captain is the most handsome. The Whirlpool shouted at the top of her voice. 100 fat not to be outdone 7 nights refueling. Fuck him. Captain cut him. The Rose cried the same. Bailey Pang Pang, 7 nights. Captain you're awesome. The Moon Ghost follows closely. 7 nights ahem 100 fat rubbed his voice, turned to look at Silent Molly Shin Qingzhu and Chaoyuan. You also shout a person cannot spell them. Shin Qingzhu turned his head directly ignoring Bailey Fat. Molly touched her nose and came out for a long time. I don't know him well. On the contrary, Chow Yuan, who was behind him, hesitated for a moment and shouted with a hoarse voice. Lin Chia. Ukok. Kawahem aya. Brother. Did you know what? I'll do it. Billa Pang Pang can't bear it. No you let me go. Ahem 7 nights awesome. Whoa don't spell it like that man. 7 nights cow you are awesome. Dang 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 dang. Sparks burst out one after another, and the 2 people who concentrated on cutting heard a distant sound shaking all over. After a moment's hesitation, the king lifted his chin and spoke proudly. You see my support is stronger than yours. Lin Chia. After so many visits to the market are you reaching your mental limits? Lin 7 nights directly ignored his show-off, slowly opened his mouth. Your body too is getting tired? Wang frowned. I have been fighting for so long, the physical quality has long been far superior to ordinary people and you? Just an average high school student. I'm surprised I've made it this far. I can still fight. Is winning this fight that important to you? I don't care if we win or lose. Lin Chia shook his head, calmly opened his mouth. I just want to go all out. Chapter 87 Act shamelessly. Kifi said, which one of them can win? Underground, 24 instructors gathered around that screen without blinking an eye. Haven't waited for Yuan Gang to answer, another instructor said. That's still used to say, although Lin Chia is also a divine agent, but after all is a new person he cannot win. That is not sure to tell the truth although the king face of the god market is too strong, but it is in the realm raised in the Zhanjing he can play the power is too limited coupled with the Yuan is sealed, and the chance of Lin Chia's victory is really 50-50. That's right, if you replace the king face with the Phoenix squad that Athena's agent, Lin 7 Knights probably won't survive 5 moves. It was a Tyrannosaurus after all, and the gap in strength wasn't made up by speed. Seems that what if Lin does win? An instructor could not help but mutter, is it really according to the chief said, let them directly end the training? If that's true the top brass will probably have to beat our brains out. Yuan Gang silently watching the battlefield of 2 people. Slowly open look down first, these 2 people did not separate before, it is too early to say anything now. Do your best. Hearing Lin Chia's words, the king's eyes emerged with a touch of appreciation and nodded slightly. Good. Dang. The knives of the 2 hands collided and at the same time the time market opened again. Lin 7 Knights take a deep breath, will their own mental state to mobilize to the peak. If there is no accident the battle between them will soon have a result. Yuan blade across the air, issued a light buzz. Lin 7 Knights subconsciously raised the knife, Meet Yuan cut off. At this time Wang's eyes under the mask suddenly waves of invisible ripples. A strong god pressure from his eyes burst out, surging into the mind of Lin Chia. Lin Chia with Seraphim's divine power shock to capture countless people, but by others with divine power shock is the first time. Almost in the moment of the God of Time's divine power outbreak, Lin Chia's eyes also contracted. His eyes, two dazzling golden on emerged as if a pair of blazing furnaces, exuding the divine power of terror. Mid-air two eyes meet. A strong wind burst out from the eyes of two people, raging divine power to two people's hearts. Transverse pressed the whole audience. Oh my god, these two people stare at each other and it's windy. Bailey Pang Pang exclaimed. Tian Ping stared at the two people in the distance and muttered. Now? It's the gods behind the two men fighting. The Seraphim's divinity clashed fiercely with the divinity of the God of Time for a few seconds, and the eyes of both men began to be bloodshot, and now they competed not for their own power, but for the divine power within them. Boom. With a light sound, the king suddenly gave a dull hum and took half a step backward. At the same time the time market crumbles all over him. Lin Chia's essence Mang burst, stepping forward. Suddenly swing the knife. This time Wang Mian did not have time to block the knife. Light blue blade across the king face mask, the above king word one cut into two. Click. The king's mask shattered. Under the mask, a beautiful and calm face revealed, helplessly looking at the front of the forest 7 knights. The crowd of onlookers suddenly stood up and gasped. Including the instructor sitting in front of the screen, the heart suddenly clicks a sound. The secret way is not good. 3. The king looked into Lin Chia's eyes and whispered a word. Then the ripples in his eyes began to ripple again. Time market unfold. The mask fragments that collapsed in mid-air quickly returned to the king's face. His backward figure gradually returned to the original position, and the people standing around sat back again with a touch of confusion emerging in their eyes. Lin Seven Knight's body cannot control the backtracking. Straight knife back to the original road. The cracks on the mask began to recover. His body returned to the position before the knife. Lin Seven Knight's wide eyes full of shock. Time went back 3 seconds. At that time the Shinwei duel between the two had not yet won or lost. He had not yet swung a knife, and the king's mask had not yet broken. The people around the crowd seemed to have forgotten the scene just now and are still trying to cheer for the two people. Only Lin Seven Knights. Remember what just happened? Know what just happened. In addition to Lin Seven Knights, they're always staring at the screen of the instructor. He cut off the king's mask? My goodness. It is fortunate that fortunately the king's face went back in time, otherwise we really would have played off. But there's such a thing as going back in time, right? No. Just the king's face unsealed the realm. In that moment he at least reached the Sichuan border. Doesn't that make us lose? Now Lin Chia did not cut the king's mask, so we did not lose. But he has unlocked the realm. This is not cheating. How can a scholar be called a liar? Are you really happy that this training camp is over? All the instructors immediately quarreled over the day. At this time, Yuan Gang slowly stood up from the position, looked at the time. It's 9 o'clock. The battle is over. Chief, win or lose? Yuan Gang looked at him and calmly opened his mouth. Training must be carried out. This is not for our face. This is about the future of these children. The ground. Lin Chia looked down at the knife in his hand and looked at the king's face in front of him. After a while he finally reacted. You cheat on. Shoo. Wang Mian put his finger in front of his mouth, then leaned close to Lin Chia's ear and whispered. Lin Chia. I admit I just lost to you, but this boot camp has to happen, you know what I mean? Lin Seven Knight's expression suddenly strange up. You want me to pretend I didn't win? Like none of this ever happened? That's what I mean. Wang nodded and then added, but you rest assured your performance is in the eyes of the instructors. After the end of this battle, you can as a winner let them give you some compensation. Lin Seven Knight's frown. I am a principled person. I figured they'd have no problem sending you a $500,000 red envelope. My rule. And for all we know they'll give you a band body shield. You know what? I owe you one more. King Face looked at the eyes of Lin Seven Knights, to the identity of the masked team captain. Owe you a favor. Deal. Chapter 88. The Next Generation. Time is up. Battle is over. The voice of the instructor Yuan Gang comes out from the loudspeaker in the base, clearly reverberating in every corner. The fearful masked squad members sitting nearby breathed a sigh of relief. I was scared to death. I almost thought the captain was going to lose. Whirlpool beat his chest, a little afraid to say. The moon ghost was silent for a moment. How do I feel? Weird. I feel the same way. Rose's expression was a little strange. This feeling is like being captain's time. Ahem ahem. Scales coughed violently and gave several people a look. All the maskers closed their mouths. Their hearts seemed to understand something, and their faces were a little embarrassed. Bailey Pang Pang scratched his head. What? Didn't 7 Knights win? No, the time has come and he has failed to cut off the king's mask. Molly shook her head. Bailey Pang Pang blinked blankly, pointed to his monocle on the bridge of his nose and said, "But I clearly saw 7 Knights a knife." Who? I do not know where the Lin 7 Knights of the dead cover the mouth of the hundredly chubby. Expressionless dragged him to the corner. The hundredly chubby, like a young girl who was taken away by the wicked, want to say something but nothing can say. You saw it all? Corner Lin 7 Knights helplessly looked at Hundred Fat. That's right. Pretend not to see it. Bailey Pang Pang is stunned. But what do you think of these new recruits, Puffy? Bailey Fat thought for a moment. In addition to those few, the others are quite dishes. So you think this training camp should just be cancelled and they should just go off and face the mysteries? Is that a good thing? It shouldn't be. So. Lin Chia patted him on the shoulder and looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle with deep and compassionate eyes. Even if I win, I have to pretend I didn't win. I'm not doing it for myself, I'm doing it for the future of over 200 people. This is the pattern. Hundred Fat Tiger body shock, gawking at Lin 7 Knights, a long time to come back to God. So it is. 7 Knights brother. I can't believe that you are not only smart, can fight, but also have a high level of thought. Me too, I'm small. Lin Chia nodded slightly. This matter cannot say out. Don't worry, I understand. Bailey Plump heavily patted his chest twice, eyes full of firmness. Let's go. The battle is over. It's time to gather. In half an hour. On the stage, more than 24 instructors stood upright, and beside them all the members of the masked team. Yuan Gang stood in the front, looking down at the recruits who bowed their heads in silence, and a smile flashed away. I'm very disappointed in you, he spoke slowly, his low voice echoing in the night sky. Hearing this, the masked team members standing nearby shuddered and bowed their heads in silence. 239 men against 5 men, and with the exception of a few, the vast majority of them have not even touched the coat of the masked squad. Slow action. Confused thoughts. No rules. What I said before was absolutely right. You guys are crap. You'll only get your teammates killed. Yuan Gang pulled the voice to scold for a long time. It seems to feel that the conscience is a little hard to go and make up a sentence. Except for a few, of course. Now that you've lost, do as I said. Throw away all your pride, forget your past and throw yourself into training. The 1-year training is divided into 2 parts. The first part is the purest physical training. During these 6 months, we will use a forbidden object to suppress the forbidden ruins within you, and you will lose the special powers you are proud of and become ordinary people. During this period we will torture you in various ways so that you are physically and mentally exhausted, so that you are always on the verge of collapse. You will despair, you will suffer, you will even want to die. But unfortunately here you can't even kill yourself. As for the second part, it is the practice of the forbidden market and tactical theory, and I will explain it to you slowly after you have survived this half-year. Yuan Gang's eyes one by one swept the new recruits below, after a moment turned to leave. Enjoy your last moments of comfort, rookies, starting tomorrow. It's your nightmare. All the instructors followed Yuan Gang behind, turned to leave. Masked team of all also put on a high cold posture, disappeared in the night. All the new recruits suddenly whispered to each other. Physical training. I kind of regret coming here. Bailey Pang Pang touched his belly and said with a sad face. Instead of that, I think you should be concerned about something else. Lin 7 Knights slowly opened his mouth. What? The dormitory building just collapsed. Where are we staying tonight? Not only Lin Chia but also other recruits soon realized the problem. They rushed back to the dormitory area and then stood stunned. The dormitory building, which had just fallen to pieces, had been restored as before. There was not a crack in the wall, Not even a scrap on the floor, and the people's luggage and bedsheets were intact, and there was no sign of a great battle. How is this possible? All the recruits saw this scene, completely stunned from their leaving here to come back, but also half an hour time how to do this. On one side, Lin Chia touched his chin thoughtfully and turned his head to look at the night in the distance. Ahem ahem. Give me a hand. Wang's face has taken off the mask, walking as stumbling almost fell to the ground. Whirlpool and Taiping carried him from left to right and sighed deeply. Captain, why are you doing this? Let the logistics team repair the dormitory. Why do you have to use time to go back and put the dormitory back together? Swirl's frown open. You can't say that. Those 3 buildings were cut down by me, so one person has to do everything. The handsome Wang shook his head, his lips a little white. Although there is no living thing in it, retracing time for more than half an hour in one breath is too much of a mental burden. The scales also frown. It's okay. Just go back and ask Cabbage to make me a bowl of soup. Yes, Captain. Did we lose today? The Rose could not help asking. The scales gave Rose a look, indicating that she should not talk about this topic now. Wang's facial body Emil, after a while, slowly stood up straight, turned his head to look behind the noisy dormitory building. Mouth appeared a smile. Yeah, we lost. And I owe you a favor. The next generation is terrible. Chapter 89. Hell. Ding 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 dash. A shrill whistle echoed through the dark night sky, breaking the silence of the dormitory area. Lin Seven Nights suddenly woke up from the dream, looked at the Rolex used to pad the table corner, frowning slightly. 3 o'clock in the morning. That hard. He quickly got out of bed and changed his military uniform, backhanded his slippers on the sleeping big fat face. The latter snorted twice, licked his lips, lazily turned over and continued to sleep. Lin Chia. Lin Chia also did not bother to pay attention to him. While finishing the dress, pushed the door out. When the door was about to close, Yu opened. I hear Molly likes women. Deh. Big sat up in bed in a flash, as if he had had a bad dream, and looked up at the other empty bed before he finally realized what had happened. Are they crazy? I've only been asleep for 4 hours. 7 nights, brother. You wait for me. Bailey Fat, while wearing pants, opened the door, only to find that there have been many people began to sprint to the training field. Chagrin scratched his head, threw off his arms to catch up. In the night, the speed of Lin Seven Nights is amazing, and when he arrived at the training ground, the whole training ground, in addition to the 3 instructors standing upright, there are no other recruits. Hong instructor looked at the first arrival of Lin Seven Nights. Eyes emerged a touch of appreciation. After 7 nights in the forest, the recruits behind have also arrived. Hong instructor, holding a stopwatch in his hand, seems to be waiting for something. When the last few recruits arrived, Instructor Hong looked at the sleepy-eyed people below without expression and opened in a quiet voice. Today is the first day of your training. Let me show you what discipline is. What is execution? At the sound of the whistle, whatever you are doing, you must be at the training ground in 3 minutes. Instructor Hong's eyes scanned the crowd, eyes slightly narrowed. Now, anyone who takes more than 3 minutes is automatically listed. Under the stage of the new recruits, only a few people automatically out of the line, the rest of the majority of people are whispering. Instructor did not look at the time. I do not know how to use a few minutes. One of the recruits asked, raising his hand. Instructor Hong glanced at him. You run 10 laps first. Recruit? I'm just asking. I told you to run 10 laps. Don't you understand? The new recruits below suddenly frowned as if they could not understand the behavior of Instructor Hong. At this time, a new recruit, a solemn man, suddenly spoke loudly. Report. Instructor Hong's eyes light up slightly. Speak. What if I don't know how much time I'm using? Then by feeling. I'll bet. I have all your arrival times recorded here, and you can bet that you will arrive within 3 minutes. If you are right, nothing will happen. If you are wrong, double the punishment. Yes. You were in the army? Former Army Combat Brigade Special Forces, Xing Zhong. Lin Seven Night peripheral look to that year man. The eyes are a little complicated. A Special Forces soldier transferred to the Night's Watch. When old Zhao first entered the new army training, was it not the same? Instructor Hong nodded slightly, looking away from Xing Zhong's body. I repeat, over time. Automatic listing. After this sentence, the recruits below suddenly listed more than half of the fat, also bitter face out. Although he does not know how long he used, but it is estimated that more than 3 minutes. To Lin Seven Nights, still standing in the team motionless. although he does not know his specific time, but definitely not more than 2 minutes. Such as everyone standing. Hong instructor and extended his hand, in the original team pointed a few times. You and you all in line last. A few recruits were pointed to a black face, helpless to go to the last side, their own column. Just automatically out of the line, backload, run around the training field 10 times. I point to the line, backload, run 20 times, run not to rest. You'll be there in 3 minutes. Rest where you are. Bursts of wailing came from the team, and they were reluctant to go to the side of the military platform, a person with a pack of weight on his back, and ran around the silent training ground. To 7 nights in the forest, then leisurely sitting in place watching them run. Me too, I can't feel my own forbidden market. Suddenly Lin's 7 nights side of a new recruit exclaimed. I didn't even know you weren't talking. It is what's going on here? Should it be because of what instructor Yuan said before, can suppress the forbidden things in the forbidden market? Really can't feel at all, this feeling is so bad. Lin was stunned for 7 nights. You can't feel the forbidden market? I just ran here with the blessings of Starry Night Dancer. Lin's 7 nights carefully perceived a moment, eyebrows also slightly wrinkled. Unlike others, Lin Chia can still perceive his forbidden ruins, whether it is the Earth and God domain, or the Starry Night Dancer, it still exists in his body. However, their effectiveness seems to have been greatly reduced. The range of psychic perception has been reduced from a radius of 20 meters to 2 meters, dynamic vision has also been weakened by a large part, and the Star Dancer's bonus is the least weakened, and Lin's 7 nights hardly feels anything different. He guessed that although the forbidden object in the training camp could suppress the forbidden market, its effect on the Shinhui was not so obvious and it could only weaken it. And the use of their own spiritual force, the power of the Star Dancer, is different from the night itself, so the forbidden thing to weaken it is very little. In other words, the current Lin 7 Knights may be the only new recruits who can use the forbidden market in the training camp. Of course, Lin 7 Knights of clear weight will not brazenly use the market to reduce their physical burden, to the training camp is to exercise themselves, if so also rely on the market cheating, then what is the point of coming here? In the distance of the running team, you can vaguely see a fat man hanging in the back, hard to step on his legs, moving a little bit. And not far in front of him is Xin Qingzhu. Xin Qingzhu does not seem to run, but the whole person is lazy, if not occasionally a big step. Lin 7 Knights all think this guy is walking in his back garden. Running, Xin Qingzhu yawned again. That who? Are you fucking walking? Run. Hong instructor frowns at Xin Qingzhu, swearing. Xin Qingzhu symbolic run 2 steps and swinging up, it seems not to put the instructor's words in mind, still go their own way, a tugging expression. You like to walk, huh? You 10 more laps. Today's run also have to run not finish tired in this playground also have to run. Hong instructor seems to be really angry, 2 hours to run. Or 10 more. Until you pass out. Xin Qingzhu frowned, glanced at the Hong instructor on the martial arts stage, spat to the side and began to run seriously. 30 laps he ran a total of an hour and a half. And 100 fat 10 laps, also ran a full hour and a half. But Hong instructors can also see that he is really trying his best. There is a disobedient Xin Qingzhu in front of shaking. Hong instructors instantly feel this little fat eye a lot, also did not go to urge. When Bailey Pang Pang finished running limp on the ground, the horizon emerged with a touch of fish belly white. In addition to him, others basically completed their own laps. Lin 7 Knights support half-dead 100 fat back to the dormitory. The latter just touched the bed like mud fell on it, the sweat-soaked sheets, a death appearance. Granny's my whole night. You've run away with half your life. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna get some sleep. Bailey Pang Pang had just finished speaking when a sharp whistle came from outside again. Chapter 90 White steamed bread and raw meat. Are you kidding me? Bailey fat while crying face, desperately rushed to the training ground. I do not know where the strength, clearly just or a puddle of mud on the bed, now has been flying. Because the night has dissipated, Lin 7 Knights can only rely on their own speed. Running toward the training ground, fortunately his speed is not slow, this time still arrived at the training ground within 3 minutes. This time significantly more people arrived on time. But there are a few who have just finished 20 laps, and they either fall behind or they roll their eyes and pass out as soon as they get to the training ground. The front foot people just dizzy, the back foot a group of medical staff carrying stretchers, running from the side like throwing sandbags to carry people on the stretcher, happy do not know where to go, skilled disgusting. Hong instructor looked at the stopwatch and nodded with satisfaction. Very well, this time most people arrived on time and made progress. Then he continued. The next 20 minutes is your time to eat, and if you don't come back here within 20 minutes, you know what will happen. With that he took the other 2 instructors and turned away without looking back. All the recruits looked at each other and then ran towards the canteen in unison. Even a pair of dead Bailey Fat have come to the spirit, 2 eyes shining rushed in the front. The expression is like to eat the whole canteen alive. Such as all new students like tigers into the canteen, see the scene in front of them, suddenly froze in place. I saw the huge canteen placed a square table, the table with 2 large pots, a pot filled with white bread, another pot filled with meat. With a little blood on it. Raw meat. The freshman walked dazed into the dining hall and stood at one of the square tables, looking around. Where's the meal? What about the dish? I don't know. What is this? Raw beef? How do you eat this? Maybe a table will be sent a hot pot cooked to eat. I don't think so. Lin 7 Knights and Bailey Fat standing at a table, the latter frowning up 2 large pots, seems to want to find rice at the bottom of the basin. 7 Knights? What do you think they mean? It's no fun. It's just for us to eat. How do you eat this? White steamed bread does not even give a mouthful of water, and this raw meat looks disgusting to me. Even if he gives a can of Lao Gan Ma. Lin Chia did not speak but pointed to the next table. On the next table Jing Zhong, who was a special forces soldier, picked up the raw meat without expression and tore it up with a big mouth. He grabbed the white steamed bread in his other hand, wiping off the blood on the raw meat and stuffing it into his mouth. It is Bailey Pang looked at this scene in shock and could not speak for a while. Where's he? Get me someone. Xin Qingzhu threw the steamed bread in his hand back into the basin and shouted in a deep voice. After a while an old man with a spoon came out of the kitchen with a black face. Who the fuck shouted? This stuff, is it for people to eat? Who do you despise? Xin Qingzhu squinted at the old man and said coldly. Love to eat, don't eat out. The old man stared and angrily returned. Meaning? Xin Qingzhu frowned. A pick is to say what at this time, and a few people into the canteen. Wearing grey cloaks and masks in their hands, they went straight through the middle of the canteen and sat down at the innermost round table. At that moment everyone was quiet. This time they didn't wear masks, but everyone knew who they were. It's you little bastards. The old man smiled when he saw the 7 men. Sun Lao, after all these years you still cook for the new recruits in the canteen? The handsome king saw the old man coming, quickly stood up and said respectfully. The rest of the masked team stood up and bowed slightly to Sun Lao. Hey, I'm an old man and I can't go to war, so I'm stuck in this fucking kitchen. Old Sun waved his hand and said without much concern. After leaving for so long I really miss your old craft, and this time I have to trouble you. No matter what, just wait here, I'll make you some dishes. Sun Lao took the spoon, turned and walked to the kitchen, completely ignoring the new recruits. There is a masked team in. Other recruits also dare not stop Sun Lao, can only frown at the pot of white steamed bread and raw meat, motionless. Lin Chia reached out to take out a piece of white steamed bread from the basin and took a bite. Steamed bread is very hard and there is no taste, it tastes like chewing wax. Meat I can't eat. Bailey Pang saw the raw meat and felt some nausea. I'm not gonna make it through practice today without eating. Lin 7 Knights eating steamed bread, light open, and later on the battlefield no one can guarantee where there is food. Do not want to starve to death. It is necessary to learn to adapt early. After saying that, Lin Chia grabbed a piece of raw meat, took a deep breath and nibbled a mouthful with his eyes closed. Bailey Pang bit his teeth and took out a piece of steamed bread from the basin and ate it. Watching Molly entangled for a long time, also finally made up his mind, holding the basin of raw meat to eat up. And standing opposite him Chaoyuan has not changed face to eat a whole piece of meat, shocked around the new recruits for a year. Xin Qingzhu's face was slightly heavy and after a cold hum he began to eat. Slowly more and more recruits began to eat food, but most of them still stood in place with a face of resistance, rather hungry than eat what was in front of them. In the room on the second floor, Instructor Hong looked down at the whole canteen and nodded slightly. Yes, the next people to eat more than the previous session. It has several good seeds. Well, that Jing Zhong is worthy of being a special forces soldier. Eating even frowned that Lin 7 Knights is also good, but let me not expect that Xin Qingzhu actually ate up. Well, he's an army punk. Old Hong still cannot look at the appearance of people. I think he is a character prick. In essence is not bad. You think he's good for you? People always change, and this year of training will change a lot of things, and when they leave here, who knows what it will be like. Instructor Hong shrugged his shoulders and refused to confirm or deny. In this day and age, do we have to be so strict? Next to the new instructor hesitantly asked, even if how difficult should not eat raw meat? Instructor Hong slowly closed his eyes. It seemed to be recalling what, more than a decade ago when the night watch was just established, it happened to meet a disaster and there was a lack of food everywhere. In those years, the predecessors were gnawing bark, chewing grass roots, holding knives and mysterious desperately. Even now the economy developed, some things still cannot forget. Every new recruit who comes to camp must eat raw meat for the first meal. It's nice not to feed them roots and bark. It's our Night's Watch tradition, past, present, future. Still so. Instructor Hong paused, opened his eyes, looked out of the window and slowly said, until one day when the country does not need night watchmen, these ancient traditions will be buried forever in history along with those unknown secrets. Chapter 91. The Agent of Time. When Lin Chier and others were holding their noses to eat raw meat, a fragrance suddenly appeared in the canteen, and everyone was invigorated and turned their heads to look at it. Saw Sun Old dragging a large tray with a stack of dishes on it, quickly walked to the masked team in front of everyone. Braised pork, braised mushrooms with chicken, ants on a tree, steamed sea bass. Ooh, is it that great? Whirlpool saw the plate full of delicacies, swallowed, eyes are shining. Hey kids, come back once in a while and of course you have to do something nice. Old Sun grinned as he rubbed his calloused hands against his apron. Thank you, Mr. Sunday. Thank you, Mr. Sun. Several other members thanked each other, then picked up chopsticks and began to laugh and talk. Gollum. In the quiet hall, the sound of swallowing sounded one after another, and even the recruits who just barely ate white steamed bread smelled this taste and could not eat again. More than 200 pairs of hungry ghost eyes, staring straight at the masked round table, as if the next moment will rush up to grab food. The king glanced at them and silently placed the yuan between his waist on the table. Then he went back to eating. I refuse. Why can they eat delicious food and drink spicy food, and we can only eat steamed bread and raw meat? One recruit couldn't resist teasing. Old Sun's face broke down and he replied angrily, when you kids leave this camp and come back later, I will cook you a big dish like this. Just then Wang seemed to think of something and waved to Lin 7 Knights. 7 Knights, let's eat. Swish. All the recruits suddenly turned their heads and stared at Lin Qiao, who was eating raw meat. Lin Qiao raised his eyebrows, hesitated for a moment, took his basin to the masked team's round table, sat down. Come on, have some chicken. Wang Mian took a small clean bowl and began to serve food to Lin Qiao. Whirlpool, grab some pieces of that fish over there for 7 Knights. All right. Have some of that broth too. It's delicious. I'll get him chopsticks. What about food? Is there enough food? Not enough. I have more here. Rose stood up to give Lin 7 Knights to fill the rice. Masked team attitude to Forest 7 Knights is very polite. Polite to Forest 7 Knights are some embarrassed, repeatedly waving. No, eat. I'm here to ask questions. I'll eat mine. The moon ghost froze. There are good dishes you do not eat but also eat raw meat? Well, you see the eyes of your comrades behind you are green. Really don't want some? I'm a recruit. I eat what a recruit eats. Lin 7 Knights decisive head shaking. See, Lin 7 Knights all said so. Masked team all had to sit down. King Face looked at Lin 7 Knights approvingly, opened his mouth. Do you mean to ask about agents? Yes. Go ahead, if I know I'll tell you. Lin Chia pondered for a moment. What is the relationship between agents and God? You ask a very profound question. The king thought for a long time before slowly speaking. In essence, the relationship between the agent and God is actually 2 words: contract. A contract. God, for some reason, generally does not appear directly in human society, and if they want to do something, they must find a suitable person to help him complete it, at which time, people and God will form a mysterious contract. The essence of a contract is actually an exchange in which God gives part of his divine power to an agent, and in exchange the agent needs to help God accomplish certain things. Of course, not everyone can be an agent, and only if God himself approves you can you become an agent and fulfill the contract. A contract. Lin 7 Knights recite these 2 words. Between the brow is full of doubts. If it's a contract, it doesn't make sense that he wouldn't know anything, that the seraph gave him part of his divine power, but he didn't say anything about what he was supposed to do. Compared with the contract, Lin Chia felt that this was more like a gift. What are you going to do for the god of time? Lin looked at the king's face, then realized that he had been impolite in asking the question and added, if you can't tell me, just pretend I didn't ask. There's nothing unsaid. Wang Mian shook his head. About 8 or 9 years ago, when I was still an ordinary person, I was walking on the street in a dazed way that day, and there was a big truck driving drunk at me. I had no time to react, and just as I was about to be knocked into the air, time around me was suddenly suspended. Then the god of time came out of nothingness and made a covenant with me, giving me his market, in exchange for which I would have to go into the upper realms and take something from it. Takamahara. Lin Chia was stunned. The land of the gods in Japanese mythology? That's right. Does it really exist? If the god of time says there is, there must be, but I haven't found it yet. Wang Mian sighed helplessly. Lin Chia nodded. Then you join the night watch is your own choice? Yes, in fact, before I joined the night's watch, the agents of the evil gods of the old church approached me and asked me to join them. Wang said calmly, but I refused. Chapter 92. The Power of Money. Outside the canteen, the sharp whistle sounded again. Miso. Lin's 7 knights have not reacted. In front of the masked team, 7 people have suddenly stood up, began to run out. Wait for the whirlpool to run 2 steps, then suddenly recover. No, we're not new recruits. Why are we running? A conditioned reflex. Wang scratched his head, glanced around the hall, and saw all the freshmen staring at them, coughing awkwardly. That what? Let's keep eating, keep eating. The masked team sat back down and continued to eat, pretending to ignore what had happened. The recruits withdrew their eyes and subconsciously looked at the wall. It was only 10 minutes before they began to eat, and the deadline of 20 minutes was still early. Why the whistle again? However, they still put down their steamed buns and turned to run to the training ground. After all, no one wants to run a few laps because they are late. Bailey Fat, who was choking on white steamed bread, beat his chest madly, waved to Lin Chia and turned to run outside. I'm gonna go. You guys keep eating. Lin's 7 knights turned and said, yeah, go ahead. Wang smiled, and the next time we met we would be outside the training camp. You're leaving? Yeah, there's another sea mystery in the north and we're going there after dinner. All right, good luck with your homecoming. Lin's 7 knights waved at them, quickly ran out of the canteen. When the whole canteen was gone, the surrounding environment was quiet. Hey, without the jealous eyes of the recruits, this meal doesn't taste good. Whirlpool put down her chopsticks and sighed. That's bad taste. The scales rolled their eyes. Now that we're all full, we should probably go. When the king saw that no one moved the chopsticks, he picked up the black box beside him and slowly stood up. Well, let's go. Don't keep me waiting. The moon ghost wiped his mouth. The others got up, put on their cloaks, took up their black caskets and strode toward the dining room exit. The soft sunlight streamed through the clean windows into the empty dining hall, and the 7 of them walked side by side. The breeze gently swept in from the door, blowing a corner of the gray cloak. Their figure was clearly reflected on the spotless tile road. They put the black box behind their backs, bowed their heads and put on their masks. Step out. The whole canteen was completely silent. In the cramped kitchen, old Sun, who was a little stooped, stood by the small window, silently watching their back as they left. His eyes were a little red, but his eyes were full of determination. Moments later, he put his feet together, squared his chest. In the direction they left. With a standard military salute. The training ground. Mythical creatures from myth, legend, and country gossip are our chief enemies. Their abilities are strange, their characteristics are different, but there is no doubt that they are far more powerful than the physical human beings. And what is it with which we want to fight this existence? On the martial arts stage, a strange instructor stood in the center, his eyes swept over the recruits. Shin Qingzhu lazily raised his hand. Report. Relying on the powerful forbidden ruins. The instructor sneered 2 times. The forbidden market. It is indeed the most important rely for humans to fight the mystery, but it does not mean everything unless your forbidden market is very strong, so strong that you can kill the mystery with a hook finger. Can you do it? Shin Qingzhu frowned a pick eye up. What's your forbidden market? Sequence 068. Chimin. Instructor. The instructor pretended not to hear anything and stood up straight. Who else has an answer? The crowd, a little fat man suddenly raised his hand. Report. Money. Instructor. Money. You tell me, how do you fight mystery with money? Change the money into coins and smash it? The instructor was angry and laughed. He turned to look at all the freshmen and solemnly opened his mouth. To fight the mystery, in addition to the forbidden ruins, we also need a strong body. And combat skills. The fighting skills are divided into cold weapons and hot weapons. Hot weapons may be useful in dealing with low-level mystery, but to the high-level cold weapons fighting is the real king. Today let me teach you cold weapons of close combat. On the other side of the training ground, Instructor Hong and two other instructors stood together, looking at this scene from a distance. Instructor Hong, this new Instructor Han, what's his story? The instructor beside him asked in doubt. This is a melee expert transferred from the headquarters side, just flew here this morning, although it is the first time to take new recruits, but I am very optimistic about him. Instructor Hong's eyes were full of approval. Just got here today? First recruit? The other drill sergeant frowns a little. Can anything go wrong? Impossible, the Korean instructor's melee strength, but the top in the country, we go back to play cards. Oh. Well and good. The three men left quietly without alerting anyone. And on the stage, Han instructors are still explaining cold weapons with high interest. Of the Night's Watch, except for a few special cases, most of them use standard weapons, that is, star knives. Sergeant Han held a straight knife in his hand, pulled it out of its sheath. There are many advantages of straight knife. Here I will not elaborate. Today I mainly talk to you about the use of straight knife skills. If you want to use a straight knife, the first thing is reaction speed. How fast you react. Han instructors on the stage with a straight knife demonstrated several kinds of knife methods. The audience of new recruits listened to with relish. Lin Seven Knights is listening to some sleepy, not because Han instructors are not good, but because he said these Chin might have taught, and he also used countless times of pain to bear it in mind. This is when the benefits of small cooking become apparent. Now I'm just going to get some people to demonstrate. After explaining the knife method, Instructor Han threw his straight knife aside and took down two wooden knives from the shelf next to him. What about that fat guy who said he could use money to beat the mystery? You get up here and show the guys. Han instructor at a glance saw the Bailey fat under the stage waving at him. 100 fat scratched his head. Some clumsy climb up the stage, took over the wooden knife. Han instructor. Do you remember what I just said? Bailey Pang hesitated for a moment. No, just use your money power. Han instructor smiled. Let me see how to win the mystery with money. This time I will attack, you will defend the way I just told you, and if you don't remember, you will. Han instructor holding a wooden knife cut in front of Bailey Pang body, eyes slightly narrowed, and Bailey Pang is rigid holding the knife, the whole body is full of loopholes. Han instructor sneer, a step forward, the hand of the wooden knife with thunderous potential to swing out. At the moment when the knife was about to touch Bailey Pang, a bright blind golden light mask suddenly jumped out and kept him in the center. Snap. All I heard was a soft sound. The wooden knife in Instructor Han's hand. It broke into 3 pieces. Cajun Han. Bailey Pang. Chapter 93. The Breakdown of Drill Sergeant Han. The atmosphere of the scene suddenly solidified. Covered in the golden light as if a big light bulb. 100 fat scratched his head, quickly turned off. Yao light. The golden light suddenly dissipated without a trace. The forbidden object that can suppress the forbidden market seems to be effective only for the forbidden market in the human body, and has no effect on the forbidden objects that are also special goods. He began with some embarrassment. Sergeant Han, I'm sorry, I just forgot to turn off automatic emergency mode. Han instructor looked at the wooden knife in his hand, and looked at the plump eyes of 100 Lee. Bailey fat will take off the necklace, put it back in the pocket. Face honest said. Sorry. Han instructor, want to come again? Instructor Han took a deep breath, threw the half-cut wooden knife in his hand aside, and changed the handle of the new wooden knife. Okay, let's do it again. Swish. Zap. This time the wooden knife was not blocked by any strange golden cover, but in the moment when the wooden knife was about to meet Bailey Pang, it directly burned up. In only half a second the wooden knife in Han's hand was burned only with a handle. Instructor Han. Arg. Automatic firewall left on. Sorry Officer Han. Bailey Pang woke up and hurriedly took off a string of beads on his wrist. Why don't we try again? Get off. As you wish. Han instructor, a hand lost the fire stick, rubbing the corner of the eye. Seems to be some heart tired. After a while he sighed, his eyes scanned the freshman and pointed to Lin Qiao next to Bailey Pang Pang. You get up here. Lin Seven Knights easily turned over the martial arts platform, standing in front of his body, reaching out to take over the wooden knife. Do you have anything forbidden on you? Han instructor suspiciously swept Lin Seven Knights at a glance. Not really. Okay, do you remember what we just showed you? Remember that? Well, I'm going to talk about a new attack and you may not be able to stop it, but that's okay, I'm not going to hit you very hard. Han instructor's C finally came to a normal person, the mood seems to be happy a lot. He faced all the new recruits, explained up, I just talked about several basic knife methods, and now I will show you a more difficult knife action. This action cleverly uses the visual dead angle of people, but also can play the knife to the extreme. Practical is very high, the power is also very good. So let me show you. Han instructor turned around, facing Lin Chia, half a step forward. The wooden knife of the hand swung out, chopping to Lin Chia at a very tricky angle. Snap. All I heard was a soft sound. Lin Seven Knights, holding a knife in one hand, easily blocked this swift blow. Sergeant Han. Degree? Degree. Lin Chia. Asterisk good. What a knife. They were just next to each other, looking into each other's eyes. Instructor Han opened his mouth and his eyes seemed to say, how did you block it? Lin Chia-kun? Is it hard? Cough cough, just a simple demonstration. You can see that the new soldier's knife foundation is very solid, reaction is also very fast. Now let me give you a formal demonstration. Instructor Han tried to resolve the embarrassment, stepped back and swung the wooden knife again. Pa. Lin Seven Knights blocked. Han instructor is unconvinced, the hand of the wood knife even cut faster and faster. Pop pop pop. A series of wood knife collisions sound. Lin Seven Knights' hand wood knife are fast swinging out of the residual shadow. Stable frame Han instructor's every attack. 10 seconds later, Han instructor silently put down his knife. He looked at the innocent Lin Seven Knights in front of his face. A ghost expression. Learned the knife? A little bit. Who did you learn that from? Leader of Squad 136, Chinmai. Instructor Han slowly closed his eyes. Some life has nothing to love, you. Go down. Lin Seven Knights expressionless back to the queue. He can clearly feel, people around his eyes are strange. Instructor Han quietly turned around and whispered something. More gas. Han Li. You can do it. They're just a bunch of recruits, a bunch of noobs. There can't be that many perverts. More gas. Can't give up. I can do it this time. He took a deep breath, turned around and began to look closely at the recruit. The face of. Soon after, his eyes fell on an ordinary teenager who looked a little facial paralysis. The body is not very strong. It's him. You get up here. Han instructor's light open. Chow Yuan alone, after a moment of hesitation, or on the stage. Do you have anything forbidden on you? Not really. Did anyone else teach you a knife? Not really. All right. Han instructor, relieved, finally met a normal person this time. He threw the wooden knife in his hand to Chow Yuan. Come on, let's practice you to block. You know what? This time you attack. I'll show you defense. Splat. Chow Yuan did not reach out to catch the knife, but let the wooden knife fall to his feet. Sergeant Han's eyes narrowed slightly and his tone was not good. What do you mean by this? Pick up the knife. Chow Yuan shook his head. I can't touch the knife. Why? I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself. It's just a wooden knife. Wood knife is also a knife. As long as there is a knife, look, I cannot casually touch. Instructor Han frowned. What kind of strange problems are these? When I tell you to pick it up, you pick it up. I really can't. Pick it up. That's an order. Chow Yuan helpless sigh that. All right. He bent down to pick up the knife. At the same time, Lin Seven Knights and others face a change while backward tens of meters, looking at Han instructor's eyes full of sympathy. Han instructor alone see this scene, suddenly a kind of foreboding. He is trying to say something. Opposite Chow Yuan's hand has touched the handle of the knife. Boom dash. Black breath to Chow Yuan as the heart explosion. A black column of fire rose into the sky, and a terrible pressure spread throughout the training ground. At the same time, the three instructors who were fighting the landlord in the lounge changed their faces and stood up. Shit. What happened? Go go go. Go check it out. The eruption of this breath was so sudden that it directly alarmed all the instructors of the training camp, and they all looked at the training field at the same time, frowning tightly. The training ground. The black flame curled around Chao Yuan, who was bare-chested, carrying a burning wooden knife on his shoulder, and smiling grimly toward Instructor Han. Instructor Han? What the fuck is this? I touched the handle of the knife. How the fuck did it turn into this? Me, do I just want to teach them how to use a knife? Can this new barracks be a little normal? Dea? Oh my god. Han Instructor looked at the Chao Yuan in front of the face and looked at the wood knife of his hand, silent for a moment. Backhanded and threw it out. But fuck you. Chapter 94 Beheaded. Crazy Chao Yuan roar, the body like lightning flew over, the hand of the wood knife suddenly swung out, the black flame like a crescent to Han Instructors. Korean military instructor with empty eyes slightly narrowed, the side to the other side, away from the crescent. Meanwhile backhand picked up on the ground of straight knife. Just hear a whisper, straight knife out of the sheath. A knife in hand, Han Instructor's temperament suddenly changed. His deep eyes seemed to be able to understand the actions of the mad devil Chao Yuan. In the mad devil Chao Yuan ducked in front of him, suddenly back half a step, side-swinging knife out. Dang. Curling around the black flame of the wood knife and Han Instructor's straight knife collision together, unexpectedly issued the sound of gold and iron collision. Crazy Chao Yuan smile, suddenly force. Han Instructor's straight knife was swung open by the wooden knife. Without any panic, accurately predicted the trajectory of the mad Chao Yuan next knife, easily avoided, and then retreated several steps, eyes solemn. 7 nights, the forbidden market was not suppressed? How is Chao Yuan still working? 100 fat to Lin 7 nights ear, doubt asked. The higher the forbidden market sequence is, the weaker the suppression effect of the forbidden object is. It is okay to suppress other forbidden markets, but Cao Yuan's sequence is too high to be completely suppressed. Moreover, his forbidden market is very special, even he himself cannot control the state of rage, the effect of the forbidden thing is even smaller. Lin 7 nights said his guess. Then the forbidden market of the instructors has not also been suppressed? 100 fat seems to think of what, that is to say, now only Chao Yuan can ban the ruins and Han Instructors now purely rely on combat skills. In Crazy Chao Yuan fight? That's super high risk. Lin 7 nights did not answer, just looked at the stage fighting each other, 2 people into silence. Everyone evacuate the training ground immediately. Han Instructors and Crazy Chao Yuan continuous to cut a number of knives. By Cao Yuan's huge force to step back a few steps. Sink to the recruits below said. With his vision, naturally recognized the young forbidden market in front of him, and initially understood the current situation anyway. The Chao Yuan is too dangerous now. The new recruits who were suppressed in the forbidden market are just a group of ordinary people, and then leave to avoid what accidents will happen. Damn, I can't feel my forbidden market right now. Han Instructors gnawed his teeth, constantly trying to display their own forbidden ruins, but there was no reaction. Chao Yuan in the state of insanity, but even the king face all feel tricky characters. No time to accelerate, there is no Yuan Han Instructor, now purely rely on combat experience and skills with it. Also because of this, Lin 7 Knights and other talents have seen the real strength of this sad instructor. No matter how fast the speed of the mad Chao Yuan, Han Instructors can always predict his action trajectory. The straight knife of the hand is like a thought, like a butterfly in his hand, accurately blocking each blow of Chao Yuan. Unfortunately, he can stop the attack, but he can't withstand the sick power and the killing fire. This fight, it's not even fair. In the mad Chao Yuan smile, Han Instructors can only barely survive, losing. Okay. Bailey fat will wear the necklace, stretch out a small fat hand, toward the show of a distant point. Dazzling gold convergence into a beam, like a sharp arrow flying out, heavy on the wooden knife blade, followed by a sudden change in form, into a golden rope, tied in the mad Chao Yuan body. Crazy Chao Yuan roared a few voices. The black flame on the body burned more and more prosperous. Only 2 seconds to burn off the Yao light of the rope, break free. Then turned his head to look at Bailey Pang under the stage, showing a ferocious expression. Bailey Pang tiger body shuddered, stepped back half a step, swallowed. 7 Knights brother, help me. Lin Chia. Give me a knife. Lin 7 Knights helpless opening. Yes. Bailey Pang put his hand into his pocket and rummaged quickly. At this time, Crazy Chao Yuan has given up Han Instructors, completely changed the goal, toward the 100 fat and Lin 7 Knights, 2 people running. Han Instructor's face change, run. He kicked off with his legs, chasing Crazy Chao Yuan toward 2 people here. Lin's 7 Knights frown slightly wrinkled standing there. The eyes emerged two light gold mang. A strong horizontal momentum to his heart spread. Found it. Bailey Pang Pang turned out from his pocket a knife with a length similar to the star knife and handed it to Lin Chia's hand. At this moment, crazy Chaoyuan black inflammation has burned to the eyes of 7 Knights Forest. The wooden knife with its dead flame cut through the air and swung straight at Hundred's fat neck. At that moment a white blade flashed. Swish. Would knife and knife on collision together hard block the erosion of the flame. Lin's 7 Knights backhand a stir swing open Chaoyuan wood knife. The terrified Bailey Fat stood behind Lin Chia, stroking the small heart that fluttered wildly. Scared the shit out of me. Lin Chia said softly, looked down at the knife in his hand, and his eyes showed a touch of doubt. I didn't touch the wooden knife just now, why? The forbidden market on this knife is called Shao Chopped White, the artificial forbidden market, which is the imitation of the Shinbing, chopped white, in the sequence 061, and it can ignore the distance of 5 meters when it comes to the knife, which is not a powerful forbidden thing. Bailey Fat touched the belly. The real, cut white, is one of our family's collections. It is said that it can directly ignore the distance of kilometers within a knife. All things so exaggerated? Lin's 7 Knights play a small cut white, surprised to say. Yeah, well, there are only a few forbidden things that can make our family a serious collection, and my dad keeps it like a baby every day and I can't even look at it. Works pretty well. Lin's 7 Knights weigh a small cut white, satisfied with the nod. Crazy Chaoyuan roar, dead staring Lin's 7 Knights, interwoven in the body surface of the flame and exuberant. Lin's 7 Knights aware of his eyes, cold hum hard back to stare, 2 groups of golden furnace from his eyes erupted. Infinite divine power directly into the spirit of crazy Chaoyuan. He snorted half a step back, the body like drunk, like shaking up. Looks like Sunway had a problem with this guy. Unexpectedly effective. Lin's 7 Knights mumbling, turning to look at Bailey Fat, the last, forbidden volume. Give me again. Fine. Bailey Fat took out the tape from his pocket and put it in Lin's 7 Knights' hand. Lin's 7 Knights' right hand holding a small cut white, with teeth gently tear a cut of the left hand seal of the volume. Eyes shine like the sun, quickly towards the mad Chaoyuan rushed. From the mad Chaoyuan there are 5 meters. Lin's 7 Knights' hand small cut white will even swing the number, directly swing open Chaoyuan hand wood knife. Chaoyuan roared, the other hand turned into a claw, wrapped around the flame, lightning grabbed to the body of 7 Knights Lin Chia seems to have completely penetrated his movement, slightly squatting, avoiding this claw, and then the small chopping white of the hand swung out again, hitting his elbow with the back of the knife. Chaoyuan's wooden knife out of his hands. Lin's 7 Knights quickly turned back. The left hand exposed the large half of the forbidden volume, wrapped around his neck, even around several circles, completely blocked the black inflammation after a yank down. Crazy Chaoyuan fell to the ground in response.